Hello. Oh dear, this is getting very regular now. Good evening, and welcome to the Gooner Talk. I'm going to try and remain as smiley as physically possible. Initial reactions are that I'm not surprised. I suppose if you expect something to happen, you're not disappointed as much, I suppose, when it does happen. Of course, I'm incredibly down. I wanted us to win this game massively, and I said that in the tweets. But am I upset? Am I angry, or am I just completely passive, quite like our team was today? Probably. I'm just a bit numb, really. And we're going to talk about all of that and everything in between and get some of your thoughts in the live chat as well. I really hope you're enjoying these shows. Please make sure you give the show a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let's get some of your initial reactions, some of your raw reactions before we kick on into some of the intricacies of what we have just witnessed. Josh Goes Forever says, time to go. Unai 3 says, Guendouzi seriously needs to grow a pair. First goal, he stops pressing. Boom, there's a goal. I recommend boxing sessions for the lads. Unai out, Emery out. Sack him, says Darren. Renat says Emery out. Corey says he isn't making. Try that again. He isn't making any effort to improve his English. Apparently, he did the same at PSG and spoke in broken French for years. That's a very random statement to make, mate. Aden says good evening. Pro Bean says good evening. Kinga says bloody boring. Yes, I think that's pretty much. Irfan says bad evening indeed. Ashwin says he is going, Tom. He is going. Oh, I don't know. We're going to talk about that in a bit. Aaron Letchford says hi, Tom. I still don't think we will get Emery out after this result. Okay, well, yeah, I think we are. I can agree with you there, and we're going to talk about that. Kathy says, I'm getting drunk, can't cope no more. Fair enough, Kathy. That's completely fair enough. Rude Boy says, can someone please tell me what Guendouzi brings to the game? He can't pass nor defend, doesn't have any sense of danger or opportunity. At least Xhaka can pass. Lion Black, Leonos Black says, sorry. Emery has to go now before the damage can't be repaired. Omar says Emery has to go. Daniel says we have one less point in Emery's first 50 games than we did in Wenger's last 50 games. What has changed? Hashtag Emery out. Safiso says the board should just prepare £6 million for Emery because, wow. Sack him tonight, says Jason. Anonymous says Guendouzi was awful. Aussie Gooner says couldn't have been a worse result for us. A 2-0 loss is embarrassing. But the Cronkies don't know football, so it won't seem too bad to them, which means Emery probably won't get sacked. ITT says Rogers in. Creator says Emery out. Midnight says nothing will change while Emery is here. I'll go back to some of your comments in a minute, but let's have a bit of a chat and a discussion about what we have just seen. So I was out at the time that the lineup was announced, looking at furniture for the new house, new surroundings, very, very soon, I promise. And when I saw the lineup, I saw that Ozil was starting. I was like, great, that's great. I want that. When I saw that Holding was playing and Chambers was playing, I was getting a little bit excited. And then my excitement was completely ruined by the fact that when I realised we were playing 3 at the back in a system which, with the players at our disposal, just simply doesn't work. And I'll tell you for why it doesn't work, because I actually think that this team and the squad that we have is capable of playing in a back 3. I think that David Luiz is a much, much better player when he plays in the back 3. I think that Bellerin and what should have been Tierney would be better playing as wing-backs. However, the issue is that we are playing in a system, as someone tweeted at me. In fact, I'll give them some credit in a minute because I did find it incredibly funny. But we're playing in a system which unfortunately just means that we don't create anything. Is that we heavily condense the wings with passes and movement and opportunities, but we never create anything centrally. We never go through the middle. We never place anything incisive. Aubameyang, who is by far, when on top form, the best striker in the Premier League, by far, and his ability to get in behind, his tactical nous and his finishing is up there with the top-class strikers around the world. And we do not play a system which suits that man whatsoever. And we do not play a system which suits other players on the pitch. I could see people on Twitter today getting so frustrated with players like Torreira. Now, Torreira is a player that when he joined looked exciting. We finally looked like we got the guy that was going to sit in front of that back four and be the little nip and tuck that we needed, nipping up all the little loose balls in the midfield, intercepting passes, being a little terrier and really wrapping up possession for the Arsenal. But he's just changed. He's diminished in quality because he's been played out of position, because he's been tasked with a role which doesn't suit his style of play, which is different to whatever he has done previously. And that has meant that we have now no longer got, because obviously Granit Xhaka is not in the team now. Granit Xhaka, I agree with the decision. Do I agree with it? I do. I agree with the decision to strip him because I think that what he did to the fans, you can't do that. However, the treatment and the lockout is interesting. I think that actually, when you look at our midfield, and by all means, I have said countless times how frustrating it is to see Granit Xhaka in the side. But Harry Symeou, actually, and those of you that know Harry Symeou from Chronicles of a Gooner, did a fantastic article. And if you haven't read it, please do go on Harry Symeou's Twitter, basically talking about how Xhaka should be in this team. And it's not down to the fact that he's amazing or he's much better than we think he is, but our other midfielders just aren't very good. And that means that Granit Xhaka should probably be starting. And I'll tell you for why. It's mainly down to the fact that we need someone who can actually pass in the midfield. And yeah, he might give away a few passes here and there, but he can actually pass. Guendouzi has sort of just dropped off a cliff from his earlier start to the season sort of run where he looked really, really impressive, to the point now where he's giving away easy passes, he's making the wrong decisions, his confidence has gone. And it's not just Guendouzi, it's everyone in the side. Everyone in this team at some point has dropped in their performance. The desire isn't there. You look at this Leicester side that we played against, who I have to say are absolutely brilliant. And you cannot go too far without looking at that Leicester side and saying, I'm going to hold my hands up because this is a fantastically put together team with some real top quality players that play some really, really good football. And not only that, but the key and the biggest difference between Leicester and Arsenal at the moment is the fact that those Leicester players want to play for Brendan Rodgers. And our Arsenal players do not want to play in this system under Unai Emery. And it is so stark and obvious that any fan in this league of any experience of watching football can see when you've got employees that do not want to work for their boss. And that is very clearly the situation, as you can tell from the title, and as I could tell from your comments, that this man has to be relieved of his duties. And we're at the time now where we've got an incoming international break. We've got 2 weeks before we've got some games against winnable oppositions. I say winnable, but you look at them and you think West Ham, we should be beating them in a really, really tough spot at the moment. We've got other games coming up against teams that we should beat. And now we're in a situation where if change doesn't happen, things are going to get worse. We're going to lose these games that we should be winning against the likes of Southampton, against West Ham. We're going to drop points in those games because we are not good enough. No, actually, that's really unfair on the players. We are good enough. We are good enough to beat these teams, but these players don't want to. They don't care. There's no fight. There's no desire. They don't want to play for this guy. And if you've got a manager, if someone in place who's looking and directing you and telling you what to do and telling you what he thinks is the way that we should play, when you know as one of those players that we shouldn't be playing this way, that we have some top quality players. We've spent £72 million on the hottest wide prospect from last season in Nicola Pepe, and he's on the bench instead of being in front of arguably who has been in the past are told that he's the best number 10 in the world. You may disagree with that. I disagree with that. But he's certainly a very creative player, Mesut Ozil. So to not play those three from the start and to go out there and play like scared little children in a formation which invites pressure from one of the top attacking teams in the league who can defend anyway. So any chances that we get on the break are going to be dealt with extremely professionally. We go out there like scared little children and perform in a way which is just not Arsenal. And I tweeted it out at the time that Leicester scored, but Leicester scored a fantastic first goal, which was the most Arsenal-esque, free-flowing, brilliant football, Arsene Wenger ball during the prime time that I have ever seen. It was such an Arsenal goal that they scored. The interplay, the little flick, the cross that makes it an easy finish for Vardy was such an Arsenal goal. And fair play to Maddison for the second goal because it was a great strike. But my God, I have seen enough, and I know that you and everyone, and nearly everyone, I mean, the Arseblog poll that was 87% saying he has to go now, I'm reckoning it's gained a few more percentages, I'm sure. But I'm sure most of you now will agree that it's time that we relieve him of his duties because you cannot continue in this way. Edu and Raul were there, and hopefully they have seen what we all have seen today and make a decision because I can't see why you wouldn't. Why would you not make a decision now? Let's read through some more of your comments. Zamir says, honestly, we're missing a dimension in midfield and on the wings. Pepe right now is not better than Iwobi, and Ceballos is not better than Ramsey. C12 says, we haven't got any runners like Leicester to play that type of football. Be real, the board has let us down. The only way the board has let us down is if they don't change the manager now. That's I can't fault them for what's going on the pitch. And apologies if you hear fireworks going on in the background. It's the weekend after Guy Fawkes night. So if you hear some bangs, that'll be why. But I cannot fault the board because they've gone out and spent £72 million on Pepe. They've gone out and bought an experienced defender in David Luiz. They've given Emery the tools to progress this side. We've gone from Iwobi to Pepe. We've gone from El Neni to Torreira. We've improved in terms of, on paper, the quality players that we've got. We've gone from players like Koscielny, who were, let's face it, past it, signing David Luiz, who's a serial winner. He's won a lot of things. His passing's a lot better. Even his defensive side of his game is superior in some senses. But it's ultimately come down now that we have got a manager that is not using these players in the correct way. And these fireworks are getting on my nerves. King Carrera says, exactly, thanks for agreeing with me, mate. Colin Addy says, no Mourinho, no. And yes, I wouldn't take Mourinho. But would I take him over Emery right now? Yes. Can you hear these fireworks? They're a joke. Please let me know if you can, because this is ridiculous. I'm in the conservatory and I can see like all of them around me. It's an absolute joke. Aussie Gooner says, when Rodgers was preparing Gray to come on, it was the perfect timing for Pepe. Then we go a goal down. I was screaming, bring Pepe on. Emery waits till we have lost the game before bringing Pepe on. WTF. Glenn Cook says, "Lol, screw defending. Arsenal need to work on composed dribbling and ball retention and composed passing." Troy Jarvis says, one shot on target. One shot on target all game. That's all it was. You can hear it. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Ashwood says he could hear the fires. It's a joke. It's like they don't know that the Gooner talk is live or something. It's so rude. It's ridiculous. Robert Jones says the players don't want to play for him. That is very clear. Frank Gunner says, look at the boss of Sheffield United. He works wonders with average players. Emery is rubbish. Danny Sadu says, our board is weak. I personally don't see anything changing. C12 says, Ramsey, Mickey, Iwobi left. We only bought in Pepe. I see what you're saying there, 100%. But you've got to understand that there's a really, really strong crop of youngsters coming through in Martinelli and Saka that are going to decline in quality. They should be progressing. This is the perfect opportunity for them to get more minutes on the pitch. And you've seen what came from Saka. He came in from the youth side with that sort of from that sort of coaching from Ljungberg. He came into the team and started off on fire. He was brilliant. He got those opportunities in the Europa League. And the more he's played and the more he's had to play in this Emery system, he's gone down. His quality has diminished. And that is down to the fact of playing in a system which does not play protagonistically, if that's even a word. It does not play in a way which wants to emphasise the attacking quality that we've got on the pitch. Marquis says, we looked like a team just coming from the summer tour. Johnny says, on Periscope, by the way, you can check us out on Twitter, which we are live on at the Gooner Talk TV. He says, the players don't want him. We don't have any leaders in the dressing room to make a stand. Abby says, goal difference is -1. That's how bad we are. Drinks Geek says, we're simply playing too deep and losing the ball before we reach the opposition's box. Kathy says, I'd take Troops on dope at the moment as manager. M says, Martinelli is on fire and should have started 100% over anyone on the pitch. He deserves it. Big Gunner D says, I'll just miss your comment, mate. Sorry. Sailor V says, relatively, we were fine comparing to our previous performances. Nonetheless, Emery has to go. Kathy says, yes, he has to go. Frank Gunner says, I wonder what madness Emery will talk in the post-match interview, Tom. Yeah, depending on how long we're on for, we'll see if we can get that up. But what can you say after that game? You can turn around and say, I think I nearly went for a Spanish accent then. Can you imagine me going for an Emery accent? I can't imagine him saying anything other than what he usually says, which is that he thought that we did okay, that we did what he was looking for, and ultimately he might come out saying we didn't deserve to lose this game, which would be ridiculous, but completely within the realms of possibility when you're listening to Unai Emery talk. George Allen says, give Freddie the job until the end of the season. It can't be worse than what we're currently watching. Webhand says, Emery, tactically it worked how we wanted. That's exactly what he's going to say. Moose 2 says, we can't even get mad. We knew this was coming. Emery should have been sacked for what happened to end of last season. If I turn the sensitivity down on this, maybe I can stop you guys from having to listen to a load of fireworks. But I don't know. Please let me know if that's helping it any better. It probably won't. James Crossett says, what signings would you make? I'd sign a new manager. That's what I would do. I don't see why signings in terms of transfers would improve things right now, other than the fact that, yes, you bring in a centre defensive midfielder of top-class quality, he might improve. But when you're talking about, I don't know, someone better, like Kante, you're not going to sign someone of that quality. You're just not going to sign anyone of that quality at the moment. Shut the hell up! It's getting so irritating. Corey says Emery's not good enough. He lost the French league with PSG. Gary Mullen says, I just missed your comments. So many people in here. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. But your comments are going by so quickly. I can't see them. JH says Laka and Alba as wingers. It makes, and what, Pepe through the middle? It makes no sense. Nasir says, sorry, all pals, we are on the decline because of poor coaching. We're now a mid-table club. Too bad for us. The quicker we accept, the better for us, and start all over again. It's the thing. Should we have to accept this, though? Is this where we're at now? Should we have to accept this as a club? We just shouldn't. We just shouldn't have to accept the fact that we've spent a hell of a lot of money. You look at Leicester and how restricted they are. You look and they went out and signed players. They sold Harry Maguire for £80 million and didn't even replace him. They didn't replace him. They already had Soyuncu in from last season. They didn't bring anyone extra. When I was talking to Rob Tanner from The Athletic in the Eyes of the Opposition show in the preview for this game, he said that they'd not signed anyone, and it's not been a problem because they've been so good in their planning, and their coaching is so good, and the defensive side of the coaching is so good. They didn't need to go out and replace Harry Maguire because they already knew that the players that were at the club, they could coach and train them to be as good, or if not even that, better. And it's just the way it is, unfortunately, that Arsenal are in a situation now where we know that we're not going to come out of this in any sort of positivity unless a change is made. I cannot see how moving forward with the current regime and moving forward in any way will allow gelling to happen, or as Emery says, it's going to take time for his ideas to get across. But how can you get your ideas across when the players do not want to be there, do not want to play for you? It just will not happen. It's as simple as that. Masongo says Emery is just a useless thing in this team. It would be better without a manager than having him. Emery out says Cask. Corey, I've missed your comment. Luke Johnson says this was another championship team performance, another 3 a.m. game to watch. Mediocrity. Dark Druid says we didn't spend much in the summer. We spent loads. We spent a lot of money. I know that it's easy to turn around and say that we didn't spend anything because we made back a lot of money, but we still spent money. We still went out there and bought players for a hell of a lot of money. You can't just disregard that because we made money too. We improved on the squad, or supposedly we definitely did on paper, improved on things. So the fact that we've gone 1 point worse with Unai Emery in his first 50 games compared to Arsene Wenger's last 50 games shows that it's nothing to do with, it's not nothing to do, but it's not as much to do with the squad than it is the direction that they are being told to play in. It's as simple as that. Unverified says Chelsea are doing well and haven't signed anyone. And that's the thing, is that it's not always going to be on signings. It's not always going to be on, Stan Kroenke won't invest in this club. It's not always going to be because of that. It's going to be down to the direction that these players are being told. If you put Chelsea's lineup on paper, in terms of looking at the quality of each player against us, there's not a lot of difference. Arguably, most of our players and they're on paper are better than Leicester's players. You think that Bellerin would be better than Pereira. You would think that in terms of our centre-backs, Rob Holding should be better in his development than Soyuncu. He should be, because he's played a lot more experience at the top level. You would think, looking at the left-back situation, that Kieran Tierney is on par with Ben Chilwell as players. Tierney's not getting played. That's the only problem. You'd think that Torreira, and indeed he's probably a lot better than Torreira, let's be honest. That was a little bit too far. But then you look at the wide areas. Harvey Barnes was on the same side, if you put him, as Aubameyang, and you put Lacazette through the middle. Vardy is pretty close. And the right-hand side, Nicola Pepe and Jose Perez. I mean, based on last season, when they had the last 4 seasons with Newcastle and with Lille, you would think that Pepe is better, right? We should have beaten that side based on what you're just looking at that team. But if you're not coached and if you're not playing and if you don't want to have that desire to win, you simply won't. It's easy to read and understand as that. And if we can see it, and you can see it, and I can see it, I'm really, really praying that the board can see it and they do something about it. I am going to wrap things up there. Because of these infernal fireworks that have been going on throughout the show. I can only apologise. It wasn't planned. It's the weekend after Guy Fawkes night. You're going to have some fireworks in the background. It's just how it goes. At least there's been something exciting going on whilst we've been talking about the capitulation that is Arsenal Football Club right now. I mean, you can take something from that, surely. I really, really appreciate you guys tuning in. I know that this is not the best time to be an Arsenal fan, and I really, really appreciate you guys turning up. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Thank you ever so much for tuning in, everyone. I really, really appreciate it. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a like. Please subscribe to the channel. Go follow us on Twitter at the Gooner Talk TV. We go live on there as well. Go check out some of the live shows that are going on as well. I'm sure the Bergkamp Wonderland are on. I'm sure that Cookie's got his own channel. Harry Simeo, as I mentioned earlier, they've all got their own channels. The podcast will be live tomorrow. Graham Brooks will be here with Drew, and we've got our new debutant on as I say. We're trying to get more debutants on the podcast every single week. So if you think that you are up to scratch and you think that you could do a good job on the podcast, send me a DM on Twitter at the Gooner Talk TV, and maybe we can sort that out in the near future. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Try to, really, really try to, and the rest of your weekend. Let's hope we have a fantastic game at the top of the table to watch tomorrow. But other than that, let's just wait and see. Let's just wait and see. I'll see you very again soon. And as always, up the Arsenal. Oh, stupid fireworks.